So we're talking about personal branding for software developers tonight. And as I subtitle this, a necessary evil. Now, personal branding, if it sounds like marketing bullshit, that is because it basically is. A brand is basically the reputation that a consumer sort of maintains in the eye of the beholder of some type of corporate entity. So when we think of a brand like Walmart, we think low prices. When we think of a brand like Coca-Cola, maybe we might think about, enjoying a warm summer day with our friends or whatever. There's a whole field of marketing all around brand marketing. And it's typically what big sort of customer facing businesses tend to do. Personal branding is a relatively more modern phenomena. The only people who could really do personal branding for most of the 20th century were basically people who had access to a big audience, whether it's through publishing books, appearing in large periodical newspapers, having a radio or TV show, that type of thing. In the age of social media, anybody can have a personal brand. It's all about basically what do you want to go ahead and attract. Personal branding is really about essentially demonstrating what you care about, what you're passionate about, and how to attract like-minded people. That's kind of the big takeaway from what personal branding is all about. Now, why is personal branding necessary? Why is this something as a software developer? Why is personal branding something you should have to care about? Well, as we discussed during last week's stream, which was all about trying to go ahead and get high commanding developer salaries, we discussed that by and large, the thing that stops most people from getting hired is that they're asking for a lot of money, but they also present a lot of risk to their employer. So they're not getting they're not essentially doing a good job of de-risking themselves, making them seem credible, raising the employer's confidence that they're going to have some success in whatever it is they're tasked with doing. So personal branding can help with this. What personal branding can really help you do is it lets you stand out from the crowd. So essentially, you pick something you care about and you specialize in it. That's the big idea. So when we go down the road of personal branding, we're essentially telling people what we care about, what we're good at, and we do this through the different types of actions we take online. As a result of developing some visible expertise, or at least passion, if not expertise, in some areas, you actually de-risk yourself in the eyes of prospective employers or other people who might offer you an opportunity potentially. So it gives you the opportunity to go ahead and stand out from the crowd a little bit, de-risk yourself. And you de-risk yourself. We talked about this last week in the stream about developer salaries. We talked about the different ways of trying to build, basically trying to build proof. There's proof of work, which is the strongest. This is like having a GitHub profile that has a lot of activity on it, is a really strong form of proof of work. Then there's proof of knowledge, which is what personal branding is about. It's being able to demonstrate, here's what I'm into, here's what I know how to do, and here's what I like. And then finally, there's social proof, which is other people being able to vouch for you because they've worked with you before and they know your worth. And so social proof goes a long way. But most of the people who struggle to find opportunities are people who usually don't have the social proof to get there yet. Once you have social proof, you can always go ahead and find opportunities from other people you've worked with before. And that kind of makes it a lot easier for you to go ahead and find attract the types of opportunities you want. And that's really point number 3. Personal branding is a way to go ahead and say to the universe, here's what Aaron Standard, I'm about. I'm into open source, I'm into startups, I'm into .NET, and specifically I'm really into building, distributed systems, and I'm into quality control, and I'm into process automation, all this sort of stuff. Well, people who are looking for a front-end developer probably aren't going to be very interested in trying to hire me. I am terrible at it. I have done nothing to go ahead and try to shore up any of my bona fides in the area. And you know what? I am perfectly comfortable not getting any opportunities in that department. And the reason is that's just not really what I care about. and my personal brand online, you kind of think of it in terms of polarization to some extent, which is polarization when it comes to, let's say, social stuff is about sending a signal to opportunities or let's say, opportunities or companies that are looking for someone who's not you. You might want to go ahead and give them a signal. It's like, hey, I'm probably not your person, and that's okay. But the people who are looking for something special, let's say a technical hiring manager or maybe a venture capitalist, maybe even an employee, if you go ahead and run a business, having a personal brand helps you kind of sculpt sort of what opportunities you might be receptive to and which ones you may not be. And finally, this last sort of little bullet point down here in terms of why why personal branding is necessary. Reputation is more fungible than resumes. What do I mean by that? Overwhelmingly, in terms of what a resume is used for in developer hiring, it's checking boxes. I want to go ahead and say, okay, does this person know C#? What's their experience with SQL Server? What types of applications have they worked on before? But you know what? The reason why resumes are generally speaking pretty worthless is they're unverifiable for the most part. I've had people lie to me about all sorts of stuff on their resume before. Working on, exaggerating basically their role in a really big project in a large company. It's a really common one. Adding programming languages that they use on there, like very tangentially once, maybe. All sorts of different sorts of exaggerations there. So resumes are generally speaking, they'll get you into the door. They'll allow a recruiter or someone who's managing a pipeline of candidates kind of quickly figure out whether or not you're even applying for the right job at the company. But that's it. Resumes aren't worth very much. Building a personal brand that is robust around something that you care about is a really good tool for being able to attract the types of opportunities that you want. And so to get started building a personal brand, a lot of people might jump to, well, I'm not much of a marketer. I don't really like self-promoting. I don't like blah, blah, blah. As developers, a lot of us tend to be pretty introverted and not necessarily all that keen on the types of self-promotion that kind of come with personal branding. The first thing I'd suggest to everybody when it comes to personal branding is to reframe your thinking around that. Don't look at it as the sole reason why you're doing personal branding. Shouldn't be actually about trying to find jobs you want. That's a benefit of it. But the primary reason why we do this is that we want to go ahead and try to attract the types of opportunities. The primary reason why we do this is we want to go ahead and share what we're passionate about. And that's kind of what's the core of building a strong personal brand.